I'm Richard Clarke. I record these talks every day as a way to deepen my inquiry. Listen each day and deepen your own practice. Welcome. I'm reviewing and commenting on the book Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Today is from Talk 404, Part 2. Another questioner. What is the use of seeing such a light? Maharshi, it is done lest we forget the goal. The practice helps one not to divert the attention to other pursuits. The object is seen, or the light is recognized because there is the subject to do so. How does it affect the subject whether the objects are seen or not? If the light, that is, the cognizer or the consciousness, is seen, there will be no object to be seen. Pure light, that is, consciousness, will alone remain over. Questioner, why then is the regulation of breath necessary? Maharshi, control of breath or its regulation is only for controlling the mind, so that the mind may not wander away. Questioner, is it for control of mind only? Maharshi, it is not enough that light is seen. It is also necessary to have the mind engaged in a single activity, that is, the elephant trunk and the chain. In this dialogue, the questioner asked Sri Ramana Maharshi about spiritual practice and the purpose of regulating one's breath. First, he asked, what is the purpose of seeing light? He is speaking of a spiritual practice. I'm not sure whether he asks about physical light or spiritual. Ramana Maharshi explains that the practice of seeing such a light serves to remind us of our spiritual goal, preventing our attention from being diverted to other, more mundane pursuits. Essentially, this light is a tool to maintain focus and dedication. Ramana Maharshi then dives deeper into the nature of this light and consciousness. He points out that the light or object of perception exists because there is a subject, the perceiver, the knower, to recognize it. This duality of subject and object is crucial in understanding our ordinary perception. Ramana then questions the significance of objects being seen by the subject. He suggests that focus should not be on the objects themselves, but rather on the light of consciousness that allows for their perception to be seen and known. Ramana Maharshi emphasizes that if you truly know this light or pure consciousness, there will no longer be any separate objects to be seen. It is all pure consciousness. In other words, pure consciousness transcends the duality of subject and object. Subject and object are both within consciousness, not separate. When you're fully immersed in pure consciousness, the distinction between the perceiver and the perceived dissolves. What remains is only consciousness, devoid of any separate objects. The Maharshi responded to the question about why breath control was needed, saying, only to control the mind. This is a theme Ramana repeats many times. The regulation of breath, known as pranayama in yogic practices, is a tool to bring the often restless and scattered mind into a state of calm and focus and silence. By controlling the breath, the mind's wandering can be stilled, making it easier to engage in self-inquiry. When I first started to inquire, I would use mindful breath watching to calm my mind so that I could inquire. The Maharshi then expands on this by explaining the dual function of the mind. He states that the mind functions both as light and as objects. This means the mind not only perceives and interacts with the external world, objects, but also has inherent luminosity or awareness. Ramana expresses the always knowing consciousness as light. Think of it as light of consciousness. When the mind is stripped of its attachments to external objects and distractions, it has no need to externalize itself into the world of objects, and what remains is pure awareness alone, the true nature of the mind. This is consciousness without an object, pure consciousness. Consciousness is also being, existence itself. Existence and consciousness are not two different things. They are the same thing, just different faces. Ramana emphasizes the importance of this inner light by discussing its essential role in cognition. He asks how you are able to recognize or be aware of anything, even in sleep. The underlying point is that this inner light, this awareness, is always present and is the basis of the knowing of all experiences, whether awake, dreaming, or deep sleep. For anything to be seen, there must be a knowing seer. Ramana further illustrates this concept by comparing it to the necessity of light for sight. Just as physical light, like sunlight, is essential for us to see the world around us, this inner light of awareness is essential for any kind of cognition or perception. The inner light is the light of consciousness. The Maharshi's analogy to sunlight underscores the magnificence and indispensability of this inner light. Just as sunlight is the most potent source of physical illumination, the inner light of consciousness is the fundamental source of awareness. This is why spiritual texts sometimes describe the inner light as being the radiance of millions of suns. It's a poetic way of conveying its supreme importance and brilliance. Ramana Maharshi uses the question about breath regulation to lead into a deeper teaching about the nature of the mind and consciousness. The regulation of breath is a method to quiet the mind, revealing the underlying light of awareness. This control of mind is necessary to inquiry. Only when our mind is still will you know your own light. This knowing light is essential for all cognition and is the true nature of our being, ever present and illuminating all experiences. Through self-inquiry, aided by practices like breath regulation or breath watching, you can begin to recognize and abide in this inner light. You can move beyond all of the distractions of the external world into the pure consciousness that is the essence of the self. This light is also, in addition to consciousness in existence, bliss. Abiding in this inner light is abiding in bliss. So, know yourself and be always free and at peace. In 40 verses on reality, Ramana Maharshi explains the nature of the self, the ultimate reality, and self-inquiry. My new book, with my comments and inquiry questions, opens these teachings up and brings them into your practice and experience. Available now from Amazon. Link in the video description. These videos bring Ramana's teachings into your direct experience. Click subscribe to see more. Click thumbs up to like, and send questions and start a dialogue with a comment